What is up, sexy people of the internet? Dave, Duncan, and Kyle back for another Metal Epidemic Podcast. This is episode 22, but a very special episode of the podcast. Not our usual format, but we usually do this at the start of every year. We will do our top 20 albums of 2021. Gentlemen.
We missed a trick here, Dave. We could have had top 21 of 21.
Top 21 to 21.
It would have allowed me to put one of the albums that I painfully cried over cutting. So we're just giving me an opportunity to not feel like an absolute dick when someone goes back through the videos from last year and says, wait one second, Duncan gave that album a 5. He gave this album a 4. Yet this one made the top 20 and this one didn't. I think Duncan fucked up.
Yeah, could be interesting.
Dave has the cold.
What's away already? We're
it's
like
not. It's
1
not
minute
Rona. It's not Omicron or whatever it's
Rona.
called. It's
I had to do a test, and it's the most disgusting thing ever.
oh
Man.
yeah, they're awesome.
Oh fuck that.
I mean, the bit that I don't get is why you have to put the thing up your urethra. And we're talking about the same test here. Oh, is that a different test? Yikes! Can we edit that out, please? Edit. We'll put an editing point here. So, there you are.
Yeah, not looking forward to that again. But no, it's just a cold. So yeah, happy New Year, everybody. Hope everyone is as well, and hope you had a good Christmas and all that. You know, didn't indulge too much. You know, like Duncan.
20. What did I say? It was close to 20 days on the booze. I think actually our last Twitch stream was when I started and I only finished Sunday. And Sunday I made sure that I could cram in because I knew there was a cut-off point. Midnight was a cut-off point. Hard deadline. Yeah. I'm not doing dry January before anyone asks. I'm just trying to lose like the sheer amount of like 45 pounds is what I need to lose. So yeah, there was a hard deadline there, and I took it right to the limit. I was dancing about my house to Judas Priest. I don't listen to Judas Priest, but I was dancing around living after midnight. But I changed the lyrics to no drinking after midnight. So yeah, it was good. It was a good time off. I've missed you guys immensely. Dave continued to send emails with albums though, which is great. I mean, remember when we said we were going to have a lot? Yeah, he just kept sending them through.
Yeah, well,
my guy.
There was stuff of interest coming in. Let's just say that, and I thought, let's just get that stuff out there.
Me and Kyle will be the judge of that.
Which, to be honest, I haven't even listened to it myself yet. I've sent it to you and never even bothered listening to it.
I've listened to all the albums for next week. And I was saying to Dave, like, I'm finding it difficult to pick a favourite at the moment because I think they're all really good. And then I was like, what about you, Dave? And Dave's like, I'm not even listening to them. well.
I've listened to one more than the rest. And it was the perfect album to listen to in between. That's all I'm going to say about it.
It's a Christmas album.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Nice.
I just can't drop the urge to start a punk band called Urethra Franklin now.
Oh, dude. Ska. Has to be a ska band.
Yeah.
Crust ska.
That's it.
Yeah, literally crust ska. Yeah.
That's fucking amazing.
Crusty means good.
Yeah.
It means you're doing it right. Don't even know what I'm on about now. Oh, man.
Oh, those poor socks.
Yeah.
You are aware that, like, within 6 months we'll be reviewing a band called Urethra Franklin, who someone will have come across this video and stolen that idea, and then they'll have the gall, Kyle, to send it in to us to review.
Do it. I want to review that album. I don't have time to make that band, so if somebody can steal it, it's fine.
Well, in fairness to the law of like how many bands one man can have, the reason you can't do it is because you are already in 7.
Yeah.
So
this is true. Check out the links below if you're watching this on YouTube. There's links to Kyle's Bandcamp. Check it out. It's all that fucking DMCA free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about. You're picking it up.
I literally don't know what that means. Is that porn?
I really don't know either.
What does
it means?
DMCA
People can
mean?
use it on YouTube and Twitch and shit, and they won't get stricken by.
Stricken.
By the law.
Dicks, minge, cunts, and anuses? Is this like is this a porn preference? I'm just trying to...
Yeah, it's basically the COVID test, yeah.
Yeah. So like, that's where you get swabbed, aye?
Yeah.
Yep.
DMCA, please.
Yep.
Where would you like to be swabbed today?
Touch the beer. Is it like, where on the beer do you want to get your COVID test? Always the ass. Right, let's move on, Dave. What are we doing on this?
So we are doing our top 20s. We did our top 10s on the website. So you go and check out the whole Metal Epidemic. Well, not the whole, but the most of the team's top 10 lists. If you want to check out their albums,
some interesting lists in there, and I'm going to do some shot fired, some absolutely horrendous lists.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah,
shots.
Like a couple of people there, brave. You know, big Johnny Big Boss being all brave, putting Limp Bizkit in there, but not putting it in number one. If you're going to put Limp Bizkit in your top 10, you put it in number one. That's the rule. Like,
right.
Yeah, you don't put it at like number 6 or something. You put it in at number 1.
Pussy. If you're going to put Limp Bizkit in there, put it at number 1, right?
100%. You have to. Like, if you're going to put that in your 10, you're going to have the gall to put an album called "Still Sucks" in your in your top 10. Don't put it in a measly like 6 or 7. You put it right at number 1, and you accept the consequences of your action.
Take it in the DMCA. Just deal with it.
It's fun to stay at the DMCA. It's fun to stay at the... Yep, love everything that's happened. Dave didn't want to do an intro. This is what you miss out when you don't do an intro.
Oh. Is it fun to stay at the DMCA though?
I don't know. If we were talking about swabbing earlier on, then no, it's not fun. No. Unless you get off on that. There's some people like I've seen things online.
Yeah. Let's not go there. Let's not talk about that.
No. You are just so lethargic, and you have to count down your 20 favourite albums of last
so
year.
Not ready for this.
You're just like, before you even hit 20, you're like,
Can I just do my 20 and go? Is that cool?
And deny these people the point of you just getting angry. Angry Dave's my favourite Dave. We got a glimpse at Angry Dave last year. And at the day of this recording, that review went up there, and some guy, his only comment was that he agrees with Dave because I was wearing a Ghost t-shirt. And I forgot for a second, yes, this is the internet.
I thought he was talking about Kyle at first.
I was wearing the Ghost t-shirt.
Yeah, when I watched the video, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
In my mind, nothing.
Green lung.
Except a couple of pasties. It's like, in my mind, that's what you were wearing. But yeah, like totally agreed with you. Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Dave did make an accurate observation, though. Agreed with Dave. What were you wearing, Dave?
A Betraying the Martyr t-shirt.
It's the voice of death metal there, ladies and gents. Talking about the old school death metal and legitimising it with his Betraying the Martyr t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just for anyone that's watching the video, before you take Dave's side, he's wearing an Acacia Strain t-shirt tonight.
I am.
Which is bitching. But if Dave starts talking about, I don't know, folk metal, don't be siding with him because Dave sounds like he knows more about it, because he's wearing an Acacia Strain.
I noticed you went with a slightly kind of generic plain top tonight.
It's to hide the bitch tits, but thanks for fat shaming me on the show, Dave. Jesus Christ.
Right.
My eyes are up here, Dave. My eyes are up here.
I went with Batman today.
I like it.
So if I disagree with them, I can disagree with my fist.
Yeah,
nice.
They can't call you out for your Batman t-shirt.
Yeah, battling justice.
I like Kyle's like trying to change our opinions on certain albums, and we're like, yeah, we'll change. Kyle, and he's like, swear to me. Like it.
So before we go into our top 20s, just a quick mention. We have our January Twitch stream coming up in a few weeks' time. And this year, we did this as a podcast last year, but we're going to do it on Twitch. We're doing the Metal Epidemic Awards live on Twitch.
Train wreck coming your way. Live stream train wreck coming your way. There's no way to get around that.
We have to be wearing tuxedos.
I mean... I just assumed everyone was. So.
This is a black tie event.
Don't put that out there. 26th of January that will be, about 8:30 p.m. UK time.
We have put so much work into it that I don't know what the categories are yet.
Yeah.
Kind of really need to get on that if it's the 26, guys.
We'll do,
Best Metalcore T-shirt award.
Oh, man.
Yeah, some of the categories will probably pull over from last year. Stuff like I think I've shit my pants award.
Oh, yeah.
What else did we have? Best... And there was like, standard stuff like best British release, and we had best album title of last year, that sort of stuff. But there may be a couple of new additions. We'll see what happens.
I'm looking forward to the best rotund rip-off artist category. Where there's only one nomination this year. DC. So, you know what you did, buddy. We're coming for you. So.
DC, does that stand for dramatic cunt?
I mean, if you read anything he posts online, you know,
really
the shoe fits, Kyle. If the shoe fits on that very fat foot of his, then yeah. Anyway, that's what you call shots fired.
Yes.
Can't help it.
We are ready to do our top 20s. We're going to do a short break, and we'll be right back to kick off with our number 20s counting down. We'll be back right after this. Okay, gents, are we ready for our number 20?
I mean, yes.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I know what a number 1 and number 2 is. I don't want to know what number 20 is. Doesn't sound pleasant.
No. Well, no, Duncan. You need to try new things.
One man's pain is another man's
penis.
I mean, that's not where I was going, Kyle. But now that we've got the dicks out, let's.
Yeah, I mean that works, Kyle. Yeah.
Yep.
That works. Number 20. Anyone in particular want to kick us off? Will I just start or no first? Cool, I'll start.
Dave wants this over so quick, and I'm just going to labour every album review at this pace, Dave, when I enunciate every little detail.
Please don't.
About the bands.
I'm going to try and make this
we're here to discuss.
Fucking painless. Rip off the band-aid. We're just going to give battered
see, I'm proud of my list. You're clearly not proud of yours.
Me too.
Rip it off and put it in the bin.
I'm too.
Hashtag me too, Dave. We're breaking that early, huh? I don't think that's what that means.
Well, what I would say is, probably 85-90% of my list, we've reviewed the album. So if you want to hear us talk in detail and depth,
it's a good
check
point.
out the review. Check out the review.
I think there's maybe 4 albums on here that I wasn't either 1 on or 2 we didn't review. So yeah.
So this will just be, a couple of minutes for each album for me. My number 20 is Impure, Wilhelmina and Antidote.
Nice.
This was basically when we reviewed this, we reviewed it back in May 2021, and I had this bad boy on loop. Like when it came out, I was listening to loads before we reviewed it. I was listening to loads, and then it kind of fell off my radar as the year kind of went on, and we started listening to more albums. But towards the end of the year, I kind of came back to it, and I forgot how much I really fucking dig this album.
It's a great album.
It's just to give you an idea of the sound, it's got a very kind of gloomy, kind of melancholy to it. It's kind of doomy, but with touches of post-punk. There's kind of gothic rock in there, a little bit of post-metal as well. And the whole thing is kind of captured in this atmospheric production, which just kind of suits it down to the ground. Most of all, though, my favourite thing about this is the vocal melodies. I think the melodies on this are fantastic. They are just occupying a cupboard in my brain somewhere. It's just so memorable. Very the guy's got a very kind of haunting kind of voice. Michael Schindel, the guy's name is. A very cool tone. I think I could pretty much listen to him sing anything, to be honest. It just has a really cool tone. I think overall this album, there was maybe 1 or 2 tracks that didn't land maybe as perfectly as the rest, and that's probably why it's in the kind of back end of my top 20. But for the most part, I think this is a fantastic release. I had never heard of the band before, but I was really blown away when I heard Antidote for the first time. I think it's got a lot of kind of like emotional kind of weight to it.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that that said if Catatonia was the metal equivalent of The Cure, then Impure Wilhelmina is basically the Smiths. And I thought, that's a pretty decent analogy, to be honest. So do with that what you will, but check out the full review. Check out the tracks. It's a fantastic album. I really enjoyed it. It's Impure Wilhelmina and Antidote, my number 20 spot.
Just want to stress here, comparing them to the Smiths does not mean their vocalist is as big a dick
No, not at all.
Morrissey.
Not at all.
So we just want to stress that right now. He seems much more genuine. Cool. Will I go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, cool. And number 20, an album that I rediscovered my love. Very much like yourself, Dave.
Oh.
This is a bit gloomy.
Oh.
It's a bit gothy.
Where this is going.
It has some organs in it.
Organs?
Like this year, I had no Ghost album, right?
Yeah.
And I had no Grave Pleasures album. Or Beast Milk, or whatever we're calling them. Or Hex Vessel, or whatever we're saying. But if I could get those bands together and make them fuck, then the album that would be produced by their loving would be White Void and Anti from Nuclear Blast, all the way from Norway. Yay! Norway, represent. I thought Kyle was going to join me there. Clearly not. I was high on life when this came out. Like, I think this got a 5 from me. And I was all just like, pow, pow, this is fucking great. Yeah, bring it on. And then a month later, stop listening to them, which happens with me quite a lot. Fixate on something else and go away and check it. And I was going back through the list of albums we'd reviewed this year, and this one only made the cut today after I spun it 3 times in a row, which is no mean feat for an album which is 46 minutes back to back. I love this album. I don't know why I sound surprised I gave it a 5. I love this album. It has like hints of Echo and the Bunnymen, hints of the aforementioned Beast Milk / Hex Vessel, huge swaths of Ghost in here, like massive swaths of Ghost. Specifically on the organ work. But what I really like about it is the changes in the album. It's not one album that has, like, a Ghost album sounds like a Ghost album start to finish. Beast Milk album sounds like a Beast Milk album start to finish. The cool thing about White Void's album is the experiment with different styles and are not afraid to let songs run long. I think the first single they dropped for this was about 7 minutes long, and it's got, I shit you not, like 7 guitar solos. And not like wankery guitar solos, actual like rock, kind of bluesy rock guitar solos that work really, really well. Vocally, I love it. It is very much in the realms of a kind of a Beast Milk, our good buddy, Mr. Kavost. It's in that realm. But I just think they're really good at crafting songs. I think that was the thing that come back to me. It's a big gothy slab of kind of rock pop, with theatrics to boot. And coming back to just reminded me that I've kind of cheated myself at a huge portion of this year when I could have been listening to this loads. So my number 20 was White Void. The album is Anti, and it's available on Nuclear Blast.
Nice. Kyle, what's your number 20?
My number 20 is Cannibal Corpse, Violence Unimagined, because that album was one of their best in recent decades. To put it bluntly, it's one of their best. They got new blood, and they got a fantastic fucking production style in that one. So, I mean, it blew me away, to be honest. I was expecting just more Cannibal Corpse, but, they didn't. I mean, it's more Cannibal Corpse, but in such a different way, and just completely took me aback and like, whoa, holy shit, you guys actually did something great here. It's not just more blast. You know what I mean? It's not more of the same old shit. It's actually updated, but gone back to its roots in a way, and I just love it. So
Yeah.
I feel like to me it felt like, and this is me speaking as a total Luddite when it comes to death metal, it felt like an important album.
Yeah.
Like for the band specifically, I think it felt like bands get to a certain age, they get a bit long on the tooth, and they become complacent. No offense to the Slayer fans out there, but that's your
Yeah.
That's your key. Like, you just play the same thing over and over and over again. And yes, some people don't like change, but I like bands that don't necessarily feel the need to reinvent the wheel, but what they come back with sounds important. And that Cannibal Corpse, which will feature on my list, I know it features on Dave's as well. You know, it just felt like a really important album, so much so that it brought me in from the cold. I was not a Cannibal Corpse lover by any stretch of the imagination, but I've found a certain amount of joy going through their discography since listening to it. So, I think it's a great album, Kel. Kel just go.
Great. Yeah.
Nice.
But at number 20, so you have some. See, I swear to God, see if Danzig is on this list. I am leaving.
Danzig didn't release anything last year.
Didn't he?
That I listened to.
Yeah, that's fair. He's always releasing something. The question is it worth your time? And the answer is always no. Always
no
no.
Movies, no fucking albums.
He has a movie out about vampire cowboys.
Yeah, it's not worth your time.
I
haven't seen it, and I know it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
No.
Right, Dave.
Right.
Number 19.
Number 19, the boys from Mahouston. It is Malignant Altar and Realms of Exquisite Morbidity.
Where?
Mahouston.
Second time is funnier. And I don't know why.
Fuck's sake, Dave.
I couldn't not have this on my list. First of all, this is a debut death metal album, which just kind of
Sorry,
blows
who was
my
the
mind.
band? I was laughing so hard. I completely missed what you
Malignant
said.
Altar. Malignant Altar.
Oh, yeah, of course. That was
You
a good
couldn't
one.
get past my Houston.
No, just everything fell apart.
Yeah, these guys have only been on the go since 2018, and to put out an album of this quality on your first go, this is like that's insane. The guys in the band all come from good stock, you know, like I mentioned we did the review, bands like Necrofire and Oceans of Slumber, so they have the experience and the knowledge on their side, but still this is old school death metal with a very kind of old school production. It's very, very varied and interesting. When I say old school death metal, it's still, you know, there's a lot going on. It's very inventive, a lot of kind of attention to detail. Very Morbid Angel in places. There's no getting away from that, but there's also a slightly more kind of technical side to them that kind of gives them a more of a kind of gore guts type feel, especially in the drumming. And it's like 33 minutes long, so it plays on loop so easily. I've listened to this album back, like just on the bounce. I don't know how many times, ridiculous amount of times. And it only came out in December, but I gave this a hell of a lot of time. But I knew instantly when I heard it that it was in with a shout of being in my top 20. If you like that kind of death metal with a kind of old school kind of quality, but a lot of kind of really interesting ideas, definitely check these guys out. This came out on Dark Descent Records just in December there, so give this one a listen. My number 19. Okay, Duncan, what's next?
We had it forever. I think we had this album the previous year. I think we got this album in 2020. Like months and months in advance, as this record label will do. And yeah, I played this album to fucking death, and I'm so glad it made my 20. Because I've anyone that's asked me about albums this year that isn't likes metal but likes older metal or likes like rock or whatever, this is one of the bands I've been dropping all the time. This is The Limit with Caveman Logic from Svart Records.
Nice.
I think this is, I said at the time, there's something exciting to listen to veterans just work together. And it's one of the reasons I think in the review that we did of it, I mentioned, if I didn't, I should have, them Crooked Vultures. That one album they put out there, I remember seeing the lineup for it and just going, this feels, I get Grohl and I get Homie, I understand why they're doing stuff together, why is the dick from Led Zeppelin coming in to do stuff on the keyboard and bass? That feels a bit, ooh. And then I heard it and I was like, no, that's like 100% exactly what you need. Bass parts were bitching and the keyboard work is phenomenal. But it felt like a jamming album. The Limit Caveman Logic feels like a jamming album. The songs are nice and short. I think my only negative was the singer, who is like old. His lyrics are a bit kind of old man yells at cloud. You know what I mean? In terms of he's moaning about iPads and iPhones and the kids these days and get off my lawn. You know what I mean? All that stuff. When you listen to the kind of passion in the musical department and in the way he delivers his melodies, it's fucking great. And it's an album, once again, that just seemed to just get played and played. I played it God knows how many times before we'd actually even reviewed it. And I hadn't listened to it in about 2 months. It'd been a while. But I shoved it on again today just to confirm its placement, and it's so instantly memorable. Like, I remembered all the choruses, knew what songs were coming in what order. And it doesn't do anything exceptional. It's just all really well written, and I think it shows. And I think the passion for doing a project like that is clear in the music itself. Didn't get much in the way of any buzz at all during the year, which kind of upsets me. There's another album on here which was kind of the same. But yeah, if you get a chance, Svart Records, who were once again killed it this year, released The Limit in Caveman Logic, a kind of super band with members of the Stooges, and there was a Doom band and some other stuff. So well worth your time if you're that way inclined.
Nice. Kyle, number 19.
Number 19 for me was Fortitude by Gojira.
Oh,
very good album. One of their best as well.
Interesting.
Takes on some of the stuff from their previous album, Magma. And just what's the word? Expands and improves.
I was going
amplifies.
fists, but I like what you said. Yours sounds more professional and reviewy.
Yeah, more reviewy. Fists. No, I really loved it. Putting it on repeat again and listening to it properly through, all the, instead of the rushed review we had to give it. Well, it wasn't really that rushed, but
it's 45 minutes long, Kyle.
Yeah, but it was an easy 45 minutes because there's a lot to talk about and think about on this album. So it's so much more varied than their previous stuff, and it's just still, and those heavier parts still hit just as hard. They haven't lost any ferocity at all, and it's just like on all the other bits, they don't sound insincere either. So I definitely deserves it placed in a top 20 list.
Nice.
Not in mines.
Is in mines. Scored higher than I expected, yeah.
I don't...
It kept going down for me. We spoke about this, I think. I want to say we spoke about this on the Twitch stream before the end of the year. It just kept... For whatever reason, it just kept going down on repeat listens, and I stopped listening to it in about September time. I was like, no anymore. And that was like about a month of like non-stop listening, and I was just like, nah, that, and then stopped, and then tried to get into it again, and I was like, I ended up skipping about the place. But on the listen through last week, kind of come back out. There was a few more bits I appreciated. I don't think it's in the top 3 albums, if I'm honest, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I still enjoy it. I still think it's a really good album. There was just a lot of good shit that came out last year. And it just kind of dropped further down my list as the year went on.
Testify.
But it was close. It was very, very close to making it. Excellent. So Gojira and Fortitude at number 19. Okay, on to the 18s. My number 18 could be one of the most consistent bands ever. At number 18, Every Time I Die and Radical. They like I was listening when we were doing the top 20s. I went back through and listened to all the albums, but the funny thing is when you start to listen to Every Time I Die, you then get taken down a rabbit hole, and you're like, oh, actually, I'd love to listen to that right now. And I was
can't listen to one Every Time I Die album in isolation. It's absolutely fucking impossible.
I ended up listening to like 3 or 4 albums. I was like, all right, I need to get back onto my top 20. I'm just going to go back through their whole catalog.
None of these albums coming in 2021.
I know. But like every album is just filled with bangers, like every album. And this is no exception. I think initially when I saw it, I was a little bit put off by the 16 tracks. Like the length, I was like, oh, sheesh. How are they going to keep things interesting and not repeat themselves with that amount of runtime? But I shouldn't have doubted them at all. Because this album takes you through a whole bunch of styles with very kind of different intensities. There's tracks that just are that kind of classic rip your face off every time I die riff fests, and then there's others where Keith leans more into his kind of melodic side, giving off more of that kind of like Damn Things type vibe. And then, like, before you know it, you're absolutely hooked in and singing along at the top of your voice. I don't think they're particularly reinvented their sound or anything on this album, but I kind of don't need that from them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting, and if anything, the quality actually gets better every single time. If it ain't broke, lads, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, album, because it scores a bit. If anyone's seen the top 10 list, they know it scored a bit higher for me. Every album feels like it has its own personality, but it instantly sounds like an Every Time I Die album. I don't know how they do it, because they're like, you can listen to, you pick songs in isolation from the albums, and if you put them all on like a greatest hits, I don't think that would ever work for Every Time I Die, even though, like I say, they don't move along. As for whatever reason, the songs feel, there's a personality to every album that they put out, and this one's no exception. So,
100%. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Every Time I Die and Radical. Duncan, what you got at 18?
I know this scored higher for at least one person. I don't know where you're coming on it, so I'm just going to temper this right now. Number 18 for me, an album that I really enjoyed until I found out they went into a church illegally. Hear those young rapscallions. This is Green Lung and Black Harvest, also on Svart Records. Like I say, Svart be killing it in 2021. This album's like... We're talking about Every Time I Die not necessarily changing much. Green Lung feel like they really just decided they were going to release an album which was a sea change shift better than their previous one, and I really liked their previous album, but this one just felt more polished, more, and I know bands hate this, more mature, but there was just more going on. Their songs sounded just better written, the production was fucking killer. I genuinely think they are one of these bands where, you kind of need to now have them on your radar. They're a watch 5 years time and see how this band has went from being relatively small to like having a sizable swath of attention in the genre they're playing in. It was interesting because I remember one of the factoids for this one from Dave was that basically there was a bidding war for this band's next album, and they went with Svart Records, and we commented at the time why that was such a fit for their sound. They're not a huge label, but they really do take time and make sure that the effort goes into their roster, and it's here. I think it is an absolutely brilliant album. I think there are better albums this year, and that is the only reason that is sitting in at number 18. So number 18 for me is Green Lung, Black Harvest, available on Svart Records.
Nice. Kyle.
You got that wrong, didn't you, Duncan?
I don't know where Dave's coming in on it yet. So and he's drinking it that cup that has lava. It's not the floor.
It's either number lava. One or give me a second.
Oh, just pretend it's number one, even though we know it's not.
I'm going to pretend. I'm going to lie to myself.
Number 18 for Kyle.
Sonic Flower Rides Again. Even though it's a 15-year-old album, it was released last year, and it was I remember just loving it from beginning to end, and just like, it's such a different thing for me to like as well, this kind of music, and it just got under my skin, and I enjoyed every second of it. I remember you guys liked it quite a lot as well.
So. Oh, I loved it. It just didn't make the 20, but like that's a good time every time you listen to it.
I know,
like, every single time you spin it on, it's fucking great.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, good album.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm all like, yeah, listen to it, guys, listen to it. Dave's like,
it's not my top 20, but yeah, it's a fun, enjoyable album. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Moving on.
Just reiterated exactly the words you just said. Yeah. No expunging on it or anything. You're just like that.
Yeah.
Listen to it. If you want to be fun, then I go listen to it. But it's at a top 20 list, so here's my number 17.
It's on my fucking top 20 list.
What you got at 17, Dave?
17. I've got Death Heaven and Infinite Granite.
Ooh, that's higher up than I thought it'd be.
Is it?
Yeah, is it?
These, I think I had it in my top 10 midway, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was.
Yeah, it was. Definitely was.
And I absolutely loved the album. Obviously, we all really dug the album when we reviewed it.
But
No buts. These guys have been like,
no ifs, no buts, no coconuts, Duncan.
I love this album. I really do love this album, but I think they have better albums personally.
Oh yeah.
I think that they've been like the kings of that kind of post-black genre for so long. I wasn't overly surprised that they threw a bit of a curveball at us with Infinite Granite. You could hear on Ordinary Corrupt Human Love that they tried a couple of new things. So it wasn't like massively surprising. The direction they went in will probably upset a lot of the kind of hardcore Death Heaven fans, that are there for that post-black goodness. I, on the other hand, quite like shoegaze, so it wasn't really an issue for me at all. The melody and the kind of textures on this are unreal. And they do it like they've been doing this for like the last 10 years. That's the crazy thing. Which kind of shows the level of musicianship and the songwriting that these guys possess. To put out an album that's totally different to anything you've done before and do it at this level is like, hats off. And I think that, they still managed to give these tracks a kind of climax and a hook, but without being heavy or extreme, which just kind of really impressed me. As I said, I love their older stuff, like Sunbather and Ordinary Corrupt Human Love are like two of my favourite albums from Death Heaven. They were both in my top 10s of the year that they came out. But Infinite Granite is a masterful move, in my opinion. I think, I imagine like these tracks will probably blend perfectly into their live set with the old material. I think it's like it's immaculate musically, and I think the production just kind of elevates it even more. I
think it's going to be a trend, like very much like Sunbather. I think it's a trend-setting album. I think you'll be able to measure 2 years from now the amount of bands that come out wanting to sound like Death Heaven's Infinite Granite. I think that's we've already started to see bits and bobs kind of trickle through already since that's come out, and I can't see that stopping.
A lot of shoegaze come out in 2021. But still thoroughly enjoyed the album. Just as I said, it was a great year for music. So although it was in my top 10 halfway through, it just kind of moved down a bit throughout the year, but still thoroughly enjoyed it. My throat's fucked. Absolutely gobbled. So that's my 17. Death Heaven, Infinite Granite.
Nice.
Duncan, what you got?
Number 17 for me, we've already kind of discussed it. Gojira and Fortitude on Roadrunner Records.
Nice.
I pretty much everything Kyle said. I think it's a great album. I don't think it's top 3 Gojira, but I'm so just going against everything I said just 2 reviews ago. There's a time and a place for being consistent once you've got your sound, but I think if you are Gojira, the amount of albums they're in, they need to do. I don't want a full album of fucking the heaviest matter in the universe. I like the fact that what they do is they mix things up. I think upsets very much like we were mentioning on Infinite Granite. It did undoubtedly upset a lot of people this year because you could tell. But in my opinion, the thing about it was every style they put their hands on sounded immaculate, sounded great, and sounded like they were masters of it. So that takes a real amount of skill to mix some of the genres they did, going from like that kind of melodic proggy death metal stuff that they do into essentially classic 70s rock as if it was as if it was nothing, as if it was always supposed to be, and few bands can do that. And MVP of the album for me, drummer. The drums on that album, like actually just sitting, I would love to just hear, I know it would be mind numbing, but I would just love to hear like the drums for that album in isolation. It's so interesting. Like everything he does, every little flourish is just really, really, really interesting to listen to. So whereas this album has topped lists of publications everywhere, which to me, it's not the best album of the year. I get it. I understand why people lean that way. So I once again think It's a band that are at the top tier. Gojira is probably as big as they're ever going to be, and they are still putting out albums which sound great. I mean, like there's not a bad song on the album. Yeah, you might like songs a little bit less than others, but I can't wait to see where they go. I just fully know that it's probably going to be another 4 or 5 years before they're at that Tool stage of their career where they're like that, an album every 5 years.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think bands should do that. Dropping an album every 2 years. It's like, what the fuck do you have to write about in 2 years?
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certain bands benefit from that. Gojira, to me, are a band that benefits from at least a minimum 3 years in between albums, because I think they come back when you just get to that stage where you just forget how heavy they are on an album, and then you hit play and you go, that's how heavy they are. Yep, I get it.
Some bands can do it. Like there are bands out there that can fire out albums every year or 2 year and still have that quality. But then bands like Gojira and Meshuggah and stuff like that, I think that 4 or 5 year gap definitely aids them. The quality is just like almost perfect most of the time.
That's my number 17. That's Gojira, nice. Fortitude, on Roadrunner Records.
Coolio. Kyle, what you got?
I forgot what we're talking about.
Top 20 albums of 2021, Kyle.
Yeah.
We're doing our number 17.
Number 17. Written down right in front of me. I'm not making this up as I go along, I swear.
He's doing the usual suspects thing. He's looking on the wall. He's like, Kobayashi.
Logitech camera.
Good album. Well, good album.
Yeah. It's a great album.
Yeah.
I think it's our best.
Yeah. Very technical in places, but
yeah.
Really embrace technology on that. No, mine is Boss Kelloid, Found Me the Smiling Thrush.
Yay!
What a good album. I'm not kidding. Some of those hooks are just great album.
Thank you.
Some of those hooks that were in my goddamn head for weeks afterwards, you know.
Yeah.
Just get stuck in there and then worm your way through, and they just can't believe how great this album was, to be honest.
It appears higher on my list, so
yeah,
shut the fuck up.
Mine also. Nice, yeah, good album. On to 16.
Good album.
Great album.
Nice.
I'm saving it for later, Kyle. I'm saving it for later. Number 16. So, there were a couple of hardcore albums in 2021 that stood out for me.
Yep.
One that I'll come to later, which is further up my list.
He put 2 on his list.
Oh yeah, come on. You surprised, really?
Big Davey Hardcore is what
Davey
you're called for the longest time. So yeah, I you know. But then he's Death Metal Kyle, and Death Metal Kyle went out his way to hate on a lot of death metal in 2021 and embrace sludge. So I mean,
I think you need a new name, Kyle.
Yeah, I do.
Sludgy Kyle doesn't sound great at all.
No.
I call myself Dirty Bathtub Kyle. That's where the sludge comes from.
DMCA, Kyle.
DMCA.
DMCA plus.
The other hardcore band, though, just put out their debut album in 2021. And I think maybe because of that, it's maybe flown under the radar for a lot of kind of metal and hardcore fans. The album is called Death of Divinity, and it's by a band called Foreign Pain.
Yes.
I think, a lot of people probably haven't heard of the band. If you're a fan of The Ghost Inside, you may have heard of them because it contains an ex or former member of The Ghost Inside on guitar. But aside from that, they don't really seem to be getting mentioned a hell of a lot. But don't sleep on it at all. This is like visceral, hard-hitting hardcore. It's delivered with like unbelievable precision. It's very much in a kind of late 90s, like kind of Turmoil, Botch, 18 Visions type style. But what I loved about this was these guys also have a little bit of a kind of more technical side that they can use. They don't let it out too often, but you know, they keep it fairly kind of groove and riff led for the most part. But there are a couple of tracks on this album where they play with different like time signatures and rhythms, which totally caught me off guard for a hardcore album, but I absolutely loved it. And I kind of loved it even more because they used it so sparingly. Like they just had it in their back pocket, like, yeah, we can go there if we want to, but you know, we're only going to do it a couple of times, which is cool. Definitely going to keep an eye on these guys, because if they sound like this now on album number 1, into their career, then I can only imagine what their next release will sound like. So yeah, that's Foreign Pain, Death of Divinity at my number 16. Duncan, what you got?
Throwing a curveball into the group now. Number 16 for me, Ghost.
Oh,
Rites of Love and Reverence, out on Century Media. Fucking love this. Absolutely love this. It's big, it's gothy, it's, it's 80s, it's Ghost. So at times it just gets fucking nuts. Production's incredible on it. He takes over more of the kind of prominent frontman role that he's been doing over his albums. I love his vocal style. I think it has that kind of almost kind of 80s goth pop stuff that was coming out, that kind of dark, like Sisters of Mercy and stuff. It has that vibe leaning towards it, and it's an album that's surprised me on listens. Even going back to listen to it, the detail he puts in specifically in the work he does in the background with the synths, really, when I think at times it's easy to overlook it, and then you go back listening, there's just something he's doing which is just raising certain bits up. But like I say, it's still at its core very much a Ghost album, so there are times where it gets heavy as fuck. Just out of nowhere, just pummels you into oblivion. It's just it's been consistent since it came out for me. It's one of those, I listen to it every other week and will continue listening to it every other week. I don't know if I'm in the camp where I think it's his best, but I think the thing about Ghost is that every album he puts out feels like it's almost like a time capsule of his sound at that time. He's ever evolving and ever changing, and I think this experiment he's doing as a proper frontman, doing vocals and doing a bit of guitar and stuff, I think suits him. I never want him to lose the electronic stuff he's doing, because that's his bread and butter, but he's proved that he can do that as well. And there's a lot of people out there that do the kind of DJ stuff and all the rest that don't go there, because they can't. And he's proved that he can, or he's found a way to do it. I don't think he's a great vocalist by any stretch of the imagination, but what he does works perfectly on the album. So yeah, I am so happy that it made it in my 20. It's Ghost, Rites of Love and Reverence, out on Century Media.
Nice. Kyle, what have you got for your number 16?
Number 16 is a band name only I can pronounce.
Oh shit.
They're from They're from Denmark, right?
Yeah, Denmark. Yeah.
It's Metal Diorama.
I thought you were going with Neatliff.
Nah, that might come up later.
Ooh. I tried to go through a rung of emotions. Hopefully that went out.
We'll edit in the best one.
Which will be none. It'll just be a blank screen. Like broadcast interrupted.
Censored. More like. Metal Diorama. Great album. Good album? Great album.
I mean, it scores much higher for me. We know where it landed. Really? Well, anyone that's maybe listening to this that doesn't know, it scored higher for me, and I think I may have heard a rumour that it scored higher for Dave.
Maybe. I enjoyed it a great deal. This isn't really in too much of an order, so this back half of the top 20 is just I enjoyed all these albums. I can't possibly order them, so here they are, pretty much. And then you get to top 5 and it's these are definitely in order.
If you have one job, listen to these top 5. I get it, Cal. I know what you're doing. Yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mol. Excellent.
That's pretty close.
Mol.
That was it.
It's if you were a footballer, you'd be fired.
No, that's goal. So
that is 20 down to 16. We are going to take a short break and we'll be right back to count down from number 15. Okay, here we go. Number 15, gents. I'm going to kick us off with Comatose from Danish metalcore quartet Ghost Iris.
Yeah.
This album, along with Every Time I Die and also my number 14 pick, which we'll get to, was packed.
I'm just breaking the rules here. That. Number 15 and my 14, because I want to get this over with, guys. Quick.
We can do that, all right? My next one is for the next 10.
Yeah, if you
So this, along with Every Time I Die and your number 14 pick, which is Mysterious. Until 5 minutes.
This was probably tied for the album with the most bangers on it.
Yeah.
Nearly every track has an earworm of some kind. And this album was usually my go-to when I was in the car for some reason, like traveling to work. Just like such a feel-good kind of sing-along type album, which everyone needs when traveling to hell or work.
You work in hell?
Close. But as catchy and like kind of anthemic as this is, it doesn't hold back on the heaviness either. There are some absolute killer riffs on here. And you just can't help but kind of get sucked in by the kind of groove of a lot of the tracks. I loved their last album, but this one feels like even more kind of refined. Like they found that kind of perfect balance of the melody and heaviness, and they can just write a hook that'll just get stuck in your head for days. Just so many stone cold bangers on this, to be honest. They could have, I think I said this in the review, but they could have picked any song for a single, and it would have worked. It's that solid. And personally, I love Cult track 4, but I wouldn't argue with anyone else that had a different favourite track from this album, to be honest. It's
pick a different favourite, Kyle. Pick up a different and throw it up. Throw him now. He's weak, vulnerable. He's not going to argue.
But very strong right across the board. Really enjoyed this one. Ghost Iris and Comatose at number 15. Duncan, what you got?
So I am not wearing a Ghost t-shirt at the moment, right?
No.
How do we know?
I can
get your top off.
I'm wearing a Vans t-shirt, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
Which has a bat on it.
Yeah.
So not a ghost.
Good choice.
Right. So I'm not wearing a ghost t-shirt. The reason I say that is that generally when I make prominent statements, I'll be called out on it on YouTube because some reason the t-shirt wears discredits what I say. Fine. So let me just say, I'm not wearing a ghost t-shirt, but I can say comfortably, I don't like Devin Townsend. Don't get it. Never got it.
No.
Tried. Better tried. Keep getting told. I keep getting different entry points given to me. Try this album. Oh, this is where he's at his most playful. This is where he pretends to be an alien looking for coffee. I've done it. There's a handful of songs that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Liked him when he was a strapping young lad. Right, I've got it out my system.
Yeah, agreed.
The best Devin Townsend album that Devin Townsend only produced but didn't actually write, although I think he guested on, is an album that came out in 2021 by a band called Four Stroke Baron, and the album boldly, the fucking balls on these guys to name their album Classics.
Yes.
Because to me, the album is a classic. I think this is fucking great. I was kind of blown away by how much I enjoyed it back when, I think it was just me and Dave that reviewed it at that time. And I was kind of shocked because before, I never read the press stuff. Everyone should know that. Press people love me for that. And they also love me mentioning that I don't read the stuff that they spend hours crafting. I don't do it. I like to come into these kind of cold and then Dave gives me information. But before Dave even said, oh, this was recorded by Devin Townsend, I kind of fucking knew because it has that sound, it has that heavy Davey sound. It's kind of all the way through it. I just think that Four Stroke Baron are better at it. They're a two-piece. It is a huge sounding album. It's quirky, it's weird, it's eclectic. It has amazing melodies. I love that guy's vocals. His vocal tone is fucking awesome. But there's something kind of, and I don't want to use this word because we all get upset on it, there's something kind of avant-garde about Four Stroke Baron. Oh no, we did again. There is something like really just kind of, it feels different. You know what I mean? It doesn't, like, to me, Devin Townsend is quirky for quirky's sake. You know, I kind of feel like he just feels like he needs to put too much of his personality in his music. Four Stroke Baron didn't, like, to me it felt artistic. It was like artistic imperative to make the songs the way they are, and they mix a ton of shit in there. And the thing about this one is, when it wants to get heavy, my God, does it get heavy? There's a couple of riffs on this one that are just like kick your dick into the dirt, bury it in thumbtacks, and then jump on those thumbtacks. Just like nasty heaviness. And it's just really well balanced. I found myself coming back to loads this year. And like I said, I can't, like, on paper, it's a lot of the things I don't like about the aforementioned artists that we're not going to mention again because they didn't release anything that we reviewed this year. But what I think is, if you are maybe like me, someone that has tried and better tried but not been able to get into said artist, or just someone that likes something that doesn't sound like anything else you'll hear this year, Four Stroke Barn and Classics is the album for you. It's currently available on Prosthetic Records. That's my number 15, sir.
Nice. And Mr. Kyle.
Well, it's not that one.
Okay.
What if any of ours actually line up? That'd be interesting.
I think,
I don't think
knowing
so.
the tens, I know that I think me and Dave lined up once. So I don't think me and you lined up at all. And at the moment,
The order
none
of my
our
10 has changed.
our back
since
ones are
then.
either, really. So
We'll
But yeah,
see.
Kyle's changed the order of his 10.
Yeah.
I will say though, has he? You can't do that. Oh, for fuck's sake! Just making up the rules now.
Yeah.
Thanks for quantifying that. No,
What
but
rules?
isn't that the thing that gets you most excited though about doing a list like this? Is
There's
like
a
we
lot of
keep
things
saying
that
how
get me
great 2021 was
Yeah.
as a year. 3 completely different looking lists by 3 guys that spent all of 2021 reviewing together. Is he's a big old fucking exclamation mark on how great last year was. So
That was really good.
now you can see number 15 was Four Stroke Barn, and I will accept it, and then we'll move on.
My number 15 was actually, yes, it was Our Man in the Bronze Age with Hext.
Yay!
Endeavours.
2 drummers, 2 drummer band, 2
Two drummer band! What more do you want? That's all I can say. No, actually, they're really fucking good. Like, that single blew me away, and the video was really, really fun for that. And they clearly are a band with, like, a fun streak going right through them.
Yeah.
Because they just don't give a shit. And the second video I saw was with the rotating camera, and they all switch places and stuff. It was great. Really enjoyed it. And then the album came out, and we all had high things to say about it.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it's 2 drummers, and they are so tight, so unbelievably tight. And I just don't get how they can do that. And the bass sounds amazing, and the songs are really good. And they all, again, got stuck in my head for months and years and decades after it was released. Probably 30 years in the future, I'll be laying in bed with a cold, 60 years old, just like, oh man, it's the Bronze Age.
I don't know if anyone has ever reviewed anything and future predicted years ahead. Well, see, when
We
I'm
should do
60,
that.
I'll still be that should be the new metric. You can
Yeah.
only give out 5s if you can guarantee at 60 you're still listening to the album.
I think I did give this a 5. It was the only one of the year.
I think that was the
Yeah.
only one you gave out this year. I actually don't. I think I might have given it more 5s than you. I think this year.
Ooh.
I know.
Maybe
I think
go
you
back
did.
and check that. I think I did.
think
But
you
I
both
just didn't
did.
make a point of saying at the start, this is my first 5, I'm giving it, and I also didn't do it in the first week.
Did I do it in the first week?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I think it may have been the first review. You were like, first 5 of the year, lads. And we're reviewing next week our first thong of albums, and I will be waiting for that 5 to drop, Kel. You know you want to do it. Don't build it peer pressure.
If any of these albums are 5-star, I will be sick next week.
Don't make me pull up my Kel impression again. It's a fucking 5, you tart! Right,
It's so accurate.
Four Stroke Barn was mine. Dave had that band. And Kyle had the one-armed man. There we are. Right, where are we going? Number 14 now?
Number 14. Yes. Number 14. What was there a band
Oh.
that was more talked about online this year than Turnstile?
I mean, no.
No, I don't think there was.
No, and I
don't
think
think so.
there is a good reason for that.
Yeah. I think I saw it in so many end of year lists. so many on
Mine.
end of your list, like Duncan's. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Dave.
for a very good reason, Duncan.
Yes. Tell me
this
why
is-
I like this album, Dave.
This is why, because another album chock full of anthems.
Yeah.
Like, every song is just like absolutely stuck in your head afterwards. But it's a very diverse sounding album at the same time. You're going from like hardcore to punk to 90s alternative to R&B. There's even some Latin style rhythms on there as well. And it all comes kind of wrapped up in this very kind of bitchin', like almost 90s feel in the production. The last album was great. I really enjoyed the last album. You could hear they were getting a little bit more experimental, trying some new things. But I feel like they've really put themselves on the map with this new one.
They're so young as well.
Yeah.
Like they're so it's like,
I know.
I mean, this album's so accomplished, and they're so
Yeah, the song,
reminding yourself of
the song quality just takes a massive leap forward on Glow On, and they've cleverly made sure that no song like outstays its welcome. Every track is 3 minutes or less.
I think I joked like when we did the podcast and we had Ross was on with us when we were chatting about it, and I think I joked that like I kept feeling like that the album hadn't downloaded right, because like you're on track 7 and you're like 12 minutes into the album. I'm like, no, fucking track 7, no. It does. It just, there's no lit up at all. Like songs like go right into the next song straight away, and I love that about it. It's just energy from start to
And
finish.
the thing is, like, even though the songs are short, they still like absolutely leave a mark on you. Like, it's just like, how did they manage to do that? Like, they're not repeating the choruses like 7 or 8 times. These songs are like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, but still afterwards you're like, that is just seared in my brain. I think it's very distinctive. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't not recognize this as Turnstile. And I think they had a bit of that on Time and Space, their last album. Especially vocally. I think Brendan Yates has one of those voices that you kind of know straight away. But musically on Glow On, I think they managed to match that kind of instantaneous, kind of identifiable sound on this album. It's such an addictive album. And obviously, I'm sure Duncan will have more to say about it later on. But
It's going a bit higher.
yeah, it's a cracking album. Number 14 is Turnstile and Glow On. Duncan, where are you going on number 14?
So this is the album that I kind of mentioned earlier on, aloofly speaking, when I said, no one was talking about it. Like, I felt like I was the only one talking about this album. I felt I was the only one talking about it when we did our midway point, kind of catch up top 10 albums, then when it was in my top 10 there, and sadly it slipped down a bit. They are a band who have an album coming out in just about a month's time, and the first single for it is fucking awesome. It's Cult of Luna and the Raging River, out on their own label, Red Creek Records. I can't express how much I love Cult of Luna. I really, really can. I just like. I got into them late as well, as you remember. I got into them when Vertical came out. The album was my album of the year that year, and I then went back checking out their older works, and I followed them through, and they kind of went a wee bit weird for a while when they started doing the stuff with Julie Christmas and like the kind of collaborative stuff that they were doing, and the kind of when they went on a hiatus as well, and then this is them coming back now. And like, if ever you had a passing interest in post-metal, or like a passing interest in like Cult of Luna in general, this album is the album that solidifies them as like the apex of that genre. They really are at the top, and it's everything they do. Like, everything is just meticulous, thought out, crushingly heavy. Like, and it always sounds effortless. Like, every song just sounds like, just the most punishing riff I've ever written. Yeah, might as well just drop it in here. And I love that about them. I think it's technically classed as a EP at 6 songs and 50 minutes in length. Right, I'll be the Joker, guys. Like, if I can take it steady. But for whatever reason, this album to me I could feel the passion back in the music, and then having listened to the forthcoming single, which people can check out in the previous podcast, by the way, the forthcoming single for their new album is just fucking so good. I mean, to me, it kind of, I feel ashamed that I'm talking about Cult of Luna and at the 14th position, but once again, I think that's a testament to quality this year.
Yeah.
But then I was reading list after list after list online, and it was in no one's lists, and it makes me wonder if, because they've released it themselves, if that comes with a kind of negative side in that some of the bigger publications just won't touch your work, or people didn't know they released something this year. I don't know. I think it's fucking awesome. I can't wait for the new album. Number 14 for me, Cult of Luna, The Raging River. It's out on their own record label, so buy it, because that way they make the money and the record label doesn't.
Yeah. Nice. Kyle, number 14.
Number 14. Number 14 is...
Number 14 is, let me just get the hat here. Number 14 is, that's the wrong hat. That's the wrong hat.
Utopia Stalker.
Oh,
nice.
Fucking
You
great
loved
album.
that album, though.
Yeah.
You heavy
yeah.
loved that album. So
Really did, yeah. Can't believe how much. And then I listened to it over again, and I know it's kind of like high on the list, but there's a reason for that. It's because it's an album. It's a really fucking good album in a year of really fucking good albums. So it's like,
I'm glad you finished that sentence, because what I originally heard was, yeah, it's on my list because I listened to it and it's a really fucking good album. And I was like, yeah, that's how you do it.
Utopia Stalker is an album that we reviewed this year.
Yes, we did. We did. It was an album that was reviewed.
Yeah. It was the winner of the Reader's Choice.
It was, yeah.
This year on Metal Epidemic's website as well.
Absolutely.
Number
good,
one.
Good choice, yeah.
Number one.
Utopia
I'm now starting to
Stalker.
think that Kyle might have been all those votes.
You
No, it's a
connecting
really fucking good album.
to-
really
Kyle,
is,
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. He was connecting to all the different IP addresses just so he could do multiple votes, weren't you?
Whilst at the same time bad-mouthing Scottish history. I know how this Kyle cunt plays. I'm on him.
I wasn't bad mouthing it.
I've still to read the tweet, but I will.
It's a series of tweets.
There's a series.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It starts at the beginning Scottish history, and what was it, 1712?
I'm not even. I mean.
Don't bite. Just don't bite.
Nah, not gonna do it. Fuck
move
you,
on.
Kyle!
I said don't bite.
That was a pretty biting fuck you.
Dry your tears. Let's move on.
I'm not gonna shout you between the eyes. I'm gonna shout you between the balls. It's from Commando. Right, Dave.
Okay, number 13.
Yep.
Number 13 is 200 stab wounds. Slave to the scalpel.
I mean, it's like, I know we're going to be doing awards at the end of the month. It might be in for a shout with best name for an album. It's up there with Sanguisuga Bog's Tortured Hole.
Yeah.
Which
I fucking love this album.
Yeah.
It's another debut album. Like, what the fuck is going on in 2021? Why? Why are we getting all these so fucking amazing
it's
debut
almost
albums?
as if people had a whole year where they couldn't do anything, Dave.
It's just
Like,
fucking. But
threw
how
themselves into music. And I think
how
that's
is it
great.
so good though? For a first release, surely it should be like a wee bit rough around the edges, a wee bit like, well, this bit's a wee bit shite, but you know, it's their first release, you let them away with it. No,
No.
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 fuck that. No. We're going to give you an album, it's stone cold fucking death metal bangers. This album, I mean, we said it before, it's hard not to kind of draw comparisons to Sanguisuga Bog, and that kind of
I
like...
think those are good comparisons, though.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, to their like kind of style, you know, that kind of dank, like guttural death metal
Guttural
style.
meth.
That's
Meth
why
metal.
your throat's so fucked.
Yeah. Dave's in on the
You
guttural
drug
meth.
for your vein. Guttural meth, folks.
Guttural meth.
We drink of
That's
this
guttural
guttural meth,
meth metal and Aretha Franklin are the two. Are the two high points of this recording. Love it.
Guttural meth metal. Okay. But what I was going to say was, even though they've got the guttural meth down on this album, they also bring in a little bit of the hardcore to the table as well. And that's where we know the old Davy boy comes wandering up to the table and says, "Hey, deal me in, guys. Give me some of that guttural meth with a little bit of that hardcore."
The analogies are all over the place here. They're doing drugs, playing cards. What am I doing here? Why is Dave in this room?
I just said, pick a card, any card.
Dave's doing magic tricks now. Big Davy Blaine, here you go.
And that is 200 stab wounds, Slave to the Scalpel. What I was going to say was the hardcore element just gave it that kind of... I'm trying to get this back on track, it's not working. Gave it that kind of extra kind of element of variance and kind of different kind of rhythm and feel for me, and that made all the difference for me on this album. I love the kind of crossover appeal. It's not too overpowering, like it's like the hardcore stuff's not in your face, but it's just enough to give the album, you know, a little bit more of a groove or a swagger here and there. I also love the fact that, you know, just like Sanguisugabog, they don't take themselves too seriously either. This is, you know, it is like grotesque and horrid sounding, but a lot of the time they do it with their tongue firmly in their cheek, and you see that from like the track titles. But it's such a Moorish album, like, and the 27-minute runtime probably helps. But the quality is there in spades. Like, so it's not just the fact that it's a short album that makes it so addictive. The quality of the riffs and the actual songwriting is fantastic. Production is also utter filth, which aids it in all the right ways. Shout out to our man, Brad Boatwright.
We love you, Brad.
But yeah,
he's
I just
not watching this.
He's probably not. But,
he is. He's a good dude.
Yeah, 200 stab wounds, guttural meth, Slave to the Scalpel. Check it out if you haven't. That's my number 13. Duncan, what you got?
Unlucky for some, but not for me. Number 13. In fact, this like the last three ones I'm doing in this segment here, all death metal albums.
What the fuck?
I know. Strap yourselves in and get a strap on, Dave. Because at number 13 to me, an album which floored me at how good it was. And this is another one of these ones where I think we all Voltroned up on 5s on this one, I believe. I might be wrong about that. This is Cognitive and Malevolent Thoughts of a Hastened Extinction. Extinction. I think I struggled the last time as well. Extinction. This is on Unique Leader Records, who released, I think, 75% of all the albums released in 2021.
All the albums.
May have pulled that fact from my asshole, but I think they probably did. It did feel like every week there was another Unique Leader album. But this one, to me, is the only one that made my list.
Oh.
So there we go. And I think it's because it's fucking incredible. This is a death metal album with thought and purpose that I think is the perfect marriage of the old school and the new school, and it works so fucking well. It's not too long. It's varied. It's clever in parts, very clever in parts. I think the songwriting actually, I think there's always an argument to be made about how bands are perceived by people that don't understand music, and how if you can listen to them with a musical ear, even if you don't appreciate the genre to the fullest, you can appreciate the craft that goes into it. I'm not the biggest death metal fan, although 3 death metal albums in my top 20.
He's not got his Ghost t-shirt on either.
Yeah, 2021. The year of death metal, Dave. I coined it, making it happen. But yeah, like this to me just had everything I wanted. And it's one of the few death metal albums I've heard in recent times that when it finished, I was like, they could have flung another couple of songs on the end, and I would have been happy. I would have been happy with the runtime. I mean, is it as trend setting as some of the other death metal albums that have been out this year? No, but I think like front to back, this is about as good as it gets. Like, if you're a death metal fan, Cognitive is a must purchase for 2021, because they're a band that, once again, were not on my radar, didn't know anything about them. Hit me just at that right time as well, because I was listening to a few albums that were coming through that I kind of enjoyed, and then that album dropped in, and because we listened to so much death metal, because that's what Dave makes us review, I like to think that the best stuff rises. Like, in my estimation, there's a standard grade that I give out to most death metal, and I save those high grades for bands that really do something that I think is fucking incredible, and Cognitive are one such band, and that's why they got a 5 from me. So yeah, and at number 13 for me, Cognitive, Malevolent Thoughts of a Hastened Extinction. Got it right, out on Unique Leader Records. Number 13.
Kyle? 13.
13, okay. Let's read on the list.
Number 30.
Number 30. I tell you what, we are flying through these, aren't we? 13 is album I know Duncan is going to agree with me on.
Ooh.
Maybe it's higher on his list.
Ooh.
King Woman, Celestial Blues.
Much higher. You clearly did not read my top 10 list. I love you for that, because all these will come as a surprise to you. But yeah, it's much higher on my list, but it's a fucking great album.
Fucking great album.
Love it. Love it.
Yep. Love it.
Any reason why, Kyle?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those albums. I don't know. The production's incredible. I just never heard of King Woman. Was this their first album? I don't even think it was. No, never heard of them before. And I was just like, fucking floored when I heard it. Just couldn't believe how, like, wow, it's so melancholy, but so, I don't know. It's a hard album to describe for me.
His voice just went so squeaky trying to describe it. It's also the vocalist kind of has a raspy tone, which is... all these jokes only work if you're watching the video version, so we're just going to stress that. It helps that the singer also has a tone which sounds akin to what Dave's voice sounds like right now. such a kind of smoky, raspy tone,
just
which
suits everything so well.
Amazing voice.
Not so much hooky and stuff like that, as far as I remember listening to it, but
yeah.
But again, it just absolutely took.
Kind of did for me. Eventually, it did. Like maybe not first couple lessons, but it did become hooky.
I think it's like, to me, it's full of hooks, but I think the hooks are depressing ones.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. If you're looking for melody that uplifts, it's not an uplifting album. That's kind of why I love it. So
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Number 12, gentlemen. So at my number 12, I have Genghistron and Dream Weapon. Hey,
did that come through in the mic? Oh
don't
shit!
you
I thought I
fucking
made
dare.
it.
Having your Cannibal Corpse in the back half of your 20s. Come on.
You don't know where it's gonna. It's one of the death metal albums that's still to come, Dave. But where will it come? Don't make me change the position right now, because despite me,
Well, I know it's not in your top 10, that's for sure.
I changed my top 10. I thought that was the rule this year.
This one was in my top 10 at the halfway point in 2021. But there, again, I mean, I keep saying using the same excuse, but there was just so much good stuff came out in that second half of the year. And I, for some reason, I didn't go back to this as much, but it seemed to be an album I needed to be in a particular mood for to kind of to listen to, if that makes sense.
Fair. Yeah. It's a long listen. I mean, it really is.
But when that mood strikes, for something less kind of heavy and more immersive, this is like the ideal album to go to. A very different album for Genghistron compared to their like grindy, kind of spazzed out electronic material. And this album came like 13 years after their previous album, and instantly kind of takes a more like expansive, immersive kind of cinematic route than anything they've done in the past.
Lineup changes as well. It's a different vocalist, different drummer.
Yeah.
So.
But Dream Weapon could be the perfect album title for this. Like, it's absolutely suited to the sound of the album. It's still layered with electronics, less abrasive electronics, and musically it's more kind of spacey and atmospheric and synth laden, with this almost kind of like dreamy, kind of proggy vibe going on. This definitely has more in common with bands like Nine Inch Nails or the Black Queen or Three Trapped Tigers than anything like Dillinger, like that kind of Dillinger ferocity they used to have in the past. But it's a very rewarding listen, especially on a good set of headphones. You'll find yourself just getting totally lost in it when you check this album out. But thoroughly enjoyed it though. Wasn't expecting it, after this like such a big gap and the band kind of going on hiatus and losing members and stuff. But when they came back with this, thoroughly impressed. Genghistron, Dream Weapon is my number 12. Duncan, what's your number 12?
So number 12 is a severe case of FOMO, fear of missing out. You guys reviewed this, sons of bitches, because I was with the wife who was delivering a baby. So, like our baby. So she wasn't just delivering a random baby.
Absolutely selfish.
I know, and to be honest, given a bit of ability to change time. I don't know if I would have been at that child's birth. A band who I've never really given much of anything in the way of interest towards, but it's kind of fucking stunning. And I'm going to pronounce the name wrong just to upset Dave. Rivers of Nigel, right? So, it's just a sea of Nigels. All kind of just working their way down. No, it's Rivers of Nile, and the band released an album called Work. It's out on Metal Blade Records. I'm fully aware this scored higher with Dave, and I imagine it scored higher with Kyle. The reason I say that is I have listened to your review, and at some points I was just like, get a room. For fuck's sake. Like, you have sucked this band off so much, there's nothing left in the balls. Just a puff of air. That's all that's left. But it's really fucking good. Like, the thing is, I heard those reviews before I listened to the albums.
Oh,
so
nice.
I checked
you went
it,
in
like,
coloured, huh?
yeah. So like I went in kind of expecting to hate it. The reason I went into expecting it is because the two yous were like, "This is a fucking incredible death," and I was like, "Oh, here we go. Here we are. Oh, it's not fucking great. No, it's all
It's how fucking great it is. Yeah, right, fine.
David Kyle." And then I sat down and listened to it, and I don't like it when either one of you is right.
Well, we're both right.
You were both right. You were both right. It's fucking incredible. It's so well written. It's another one of those ones where it feels like, if to coin Dave's phrase from 2020 was the year of death metal, where you got like just incredible quality death metal across the board. To me, this is an important year for death metal, because I think this is when bands started to either kind of re-cement their legacy, whether it's, you know, a kind of Cannibal Corpse, or like bands like just released the best version of stuff they can do. The Work is an incredible album front to back, and I've listened to it more times than I would care to admit on a show where I have spent the majority of the time telling people how much I dislike this genre of music. But it's absolutely fucking jaw-droppingly good. Meticulous, it's a weird way to describe a band in this genre, but it's kind of like it's like a joy to listen to, because it's just it's on a different level to a lot of what has come out this year. And not being familiar with their old stuff, and knowing that Dave obviously went into detail, because that's what Dave does in reviews, gives you a history. In the beginning, there was River of Nile. Changed their name from River of Nigel because that was already taken. I'm still to do the backtrack on their stuff, but I know you spoke very highly of it, which gets me excited. So, I mean, I can say, hand on heart, this is my favourite River of Nile album that I've ever heard. And it's at number 12 for me. It's fucking amazing, and it's released on Metal Blade Records. The Work.
Nice. Maybe talking about that later.
I think I may have read it somewhere on another list.
Kyle, what do we have at number 12?
Rivers of Nile, The Work.
Really?
Yeah. Not even kidding. Absolutely. Everything Duncan just said, ditto.
Twinsies!
Wow. First crossover.
Yeah.
Fucking great album. Fucking great album.
Yes.
Fucking
listen to
great
Dave and
album.
Kyle just talk about how great it is.
Yeah.
And then just imagine there's another little box here, and I'm smiling and all happy in it.
The production on this album fucking is just, I don't get how they did it. I don't understand. It made me want to just sell all my shit and go, I'm done with this. Rivers of Nihil have perfected it, and I'm done.
Yeah. True.
There's nowhere else to go now. That's it. Every other band is just now vying for second place.
Rivers of Jimmy Neal, crocodile
Oh, Jesus
shoes. Where did that come from?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Okay.
Jesus
How the fuck did you get to Jimmy Nail? I haven't
I
heard that
have
dude's
no
name in like
idea.
20
I thought
years.
River of Nail, and then I was like, Nail's the band, and I couldn't think of a song I could do on this, like, that would be, I don't know. And then Jimmy
I don't
came
think
in my head.
anybody's
and then
jumped
Jimmy
to Jimmy Nail in a decade at least.
Neal. More than that.
Yeah.
Crocodile Shoes was out in the 90s, early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So Dave doesn't even know who we're on about now. 'Cause
Okay.
it's that old.
I know who fucking Jimmy Neal is.
Oh, like, I
We
forgot
just
you're
seen
wearing
it.
your Jimmy Neal t-shirt.
He's got a hammer shop up the road, right?
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy
my
Neil's holding
screws
that
from-
picture up right there. Big Jimmy Neil.
I bought my screws for Jimmy Neil for that fucking picture.
I can
He's
say hand on
screwing
heart, this
frames
is
to your
the
wall.
most times we need to watch what we're doing there. Like, I feel like Beetlejuice
Yeah.
or Candyman. We need to stop saying his name.
Oh, fuck.
Him and his fucking horrible teeth.
Jesus.
Oh, dude, that was an ugly man.
Yeah.
Jimmy's nails.
Beautiful voice.
Don't know. Okay, moving on to our number 11 of our lists. My voice is getting lower and lower.
Oh, you're going to be like Phil Anselmo by the end of this. I can't fucking wait.
Almost halfway. 2021 was a fantastic year. Some may say the year of deathcore. Some people being me.
Is this the start of a series of deathcore albums?
The year of deathcore, Duncan, was 2021. I could have easily picked 3 or 4 or 5 of the big releases to feature in my top 20,
But Dave doesn't do that because you didn't pay him enough.
but I didn't. But one of those albums I did pick for my top 20. And at number 11 is Osaya and
I did love
Loss.
this album.
I just could not get enough of this album, and it just regularly rotated into my playlist. And I felt it was a little bit strange because I went back to it so much, right? Because there's not a lot of deathcore that I return to time and time again. I tend to find that once you've heard all the tricks and the surprises of a deathcore release,
Yep.
they maybe don't have as much of a kind of wow factor on repeat listens.
Yeah.
But this one was the complete opposite. Like every time I hear it, I'm kind of waiting in anticipation for those big Moments. I've listened to this so much, I could possibly be a member of the band. I shit, you know. I enjoyed what the band had done in the past, but I really feel like Loss is where they've found their sound and their formula that they've been searching for on past releases. This is everything you'd want from a punishing deathcore release. It has the pace and the kind of ferocity of modern death metal, but it's loaded with these fucking colossal grooves and breakdowns. And what I loved about this album was how they kept the album interesting for its entirety. The kind of standard breakdowns that you hear time and time again on other deathcore albums are not a feature on this. They will constantly play with the kind of rhythmical parts of each riff, making sure it's not just like a kind of cut and paste from a previous track. I just really dug this. This is the best Osaya album by a country mile, and it was, for me personally, is my favourite deathcore album of 2021. If you're a fan of deathcore in any shape or form, then I would definitely recommend checking this one out. Lot of reward from this album. Like every time I go back to it, I'm just like, yes, give me the riffs.
Thought it was a tad long. That was my only negative.
A little bit, and that's why I didn't get a 5 from you. I gave
Yeah.
it 4.5. And it wasn't that I disliked the tracks towards the end. I just felt like they'd showed everything they needed to show.
But that was a trend for deathcore in 2021. It's like albums got longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, it's a fucking great album. So I think but I knew that would appear somewhere for you.
Yes. Just shy of my top 10, but still awesome album. That is my number 11, Osaya and Loss. Duncan, what you got?
I don't know, Dave. I had 3 death metal albums back to back. One has not been mentioned yet that I really loved. It is, of course, Sanguisugabog. And no, I'm all joking. Although I love see if we could have had our 21 of 2021, I would have. I just realised it is 2021. Genius. How do we do it, guys? How do we fucking do it every year? But yeah, it was definitely an album that, you know, could have been in contention. I still listen to it. I fucking love it. But to me, there was one death metal album this year that really just fucking kicked me in the nads, spat in my face, slapped me in the ass, and called me Sally. Why it called me Sally, I don't know, but I liked it. So I will now go under the name Sally. So when the little circle appears with the scores, Sally from now on. Thank you. So no, it's Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
It's Violence Unimagined.
Yeah.
It's Metal Blade Records. You know, do I need to do the chant again? I started a trend that lit the internet on fire. He is the man. We know he is. don't say his name too many times or he will appear like Beetlejuice. Although maybe we want that. Maybe we want that. And like I said it earlier on when Kyle mentioned it, it feels like an important album.
Yeah.
And I heard something, it's not a man Cannibal Corpse. Like, fuck off, right? They're so long into their career now that anything that stands out as interesting or important is important to that band's legacy. Listening to that, if you told me, well, that, you know, Cannibal Corpse are going to be writing albums for the next 20 years, I would believe it from listening to this album. It doesn't sound like they've slowed at all, and they're like very much in the same way that I was super excited about Napalm Death last year. I'm kind of feeling the same way about this. This feels like when people come back to look at Cannibal Corpse 10, 15, 20, 40 years from now and track it, this is an important mark for the band. It's a fucking incredible album. It owes a lot more to kind of the kind of thrash metal moments, which I really liked about it because it kept it interesting. Yeah. Guitar solos are fucking amazing, drum work incredible, and vocally, the dude just keeps getting better. Corpse Grinder is on a different level and he's another guy that just makes it feel like it's no stretch for him. I mean, to me, it's the most important death metal album of the year. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Number 11 for me, Cannibal Corpse, nice. Violence Unimagined, Metal Blade Records.
Nice. And Kyle, number 11?
Cannibal Corpse, Violence, no.
He's got my list, Dave. He's got my list.
Some wires have been crossed. Fuck. And mine's Death Heaven, Infinite Granite, for all the reasons mentioned above. I mean, I have never heard Death Heaven before. I heard of them, never had checked them out, and then this album absolutely blew me away. It was just like, wow, it was definitely something I should definitely get more into, more and more. Cause
Definitely.
Definitely.
There's a couple of albums in this genre last year that I really enjoyed. So I'm like, I'm going in that direction too. Sludge and this. So, Yep.
Sludgy shoegaze.
That's an interesting genre crossover.
I think it's there. I think we'll listen to at least one band. Maybe. Yeah. I'm looking at Dave because Dave's ability to recall is much better than mine when it comes to actual albums we've listened to. Yeah. I think I want to see there's a sludgy band that had elements of shoegaze, and we reviewed them. Dave's not said no. You're stupid, Duncan.
It's possible.
You've let me down, Dave.
Okay. So that is 20 to 11. Let's count down from 20 to 11 before
Which
we
makes
move
it
on.
different for Kyle unless he's been tracking his order.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Bands and shit.
Different order this time from last time, but okay. My 20 to 11 were number 20 was Impure Wilhelmina and Antidote. Number 19, Malignant Altar, Realms of Exquisite Morbidity. Number 18 was Every Time I Die and Radical. Number 17 was Death Heaven, Infinite Granite. 16 was Foreign Pain and Death of Divinity. 15, Ghost Iris, Comatose. 14 was Turnstile and Glow On. 13 was 200 Stab Wounds, Slave to the Scalpel. 12 was Genghistron and Dream Weapon. And 11 was Asaya and Loss. Duncan, count me down.
Yep, number 20 was White Void and Anti. Number 19 was The Limit and Caveman Logic. Number 18, Green Lung, Black Harvest. 17, Gojira with Fortitude. Number 16, Ghost with Rites of Love and Reverence. Number 15 was Four Stroke Baron with Classics. 14, Cult of Luna and the Raging River. Number 13 was Cognitive and a title that I will mess up again. Malevolent Thoughts of a Hastened Extinction. I don't know why that gets me every time. Number 12, Rivers of Nile. Niles! It's your crane, isn't it? That's what it is. Rivers of Nile. I don't know why I'm mocking them. That like everyone in that band would murder me. And then use the body parts to write a bitchin' death metal album. And number 11 was Cannibal Corpse with Violence Unimagined.
Nice.
Kyle.
Okay.
Number 20 was a metal band. Number 19 was another metal band.
We're going to need to rewind the tape here. Exactly what did I say at 15?
What the fuck? No, Cannibal Corpse at number 20. Gojira Fortitude at 19. Sonic Flower, Rides Again. Boss Collide came after that. And Merle at number whatever. Man in the Bronze Age.
I love Kyle. Keep going.
Can't know. Utopia Stalker, 14, King Woman, Celestial Blues, then it followed by Rivers of Nigel, along with Death Heaven at number 11.
Boom. Excellent. Okay, first half done. We're going to take a short break.
Sure.
And then we'll be back.
I'll see you tomorrow.